A very good morning to all of you students. Yesterday we have started the poem Childhood by Marcus Netton from our book Hornbill. So let's continue with the poem today also. In this poem, the poet thinks deeply over the question of his lost childhood. Childhood, we all know, is a stage of innocence in which the child believes others and loves everyone unconditionally. The poet has tried to identify some stages of his life when his thoughts and perceptions of the world changed. The poem describes the first step to maturity or loss of childhood, when one is able to think logically and rationally. Forming one's own opinion and not getting influenced by others is also a sign of maturity or loss of childhood. The poem also hints at the hypocrisy which is prevalent in our society, where people pretend to be nice to each other but actually they are not, but actually in reality they do not even like each other. So let's start a quick recapitulation of the first stanza. When did my childhood go? Was it the day I ceased to be 11? Was it the time I realized that hell and heaven could not be found in geography and therefore could not be? Was that the day? A few keywords. Go means end, cease to be means stopped being, realized, we all know, understood. So here the poet wonders when he lost his childhood. He reflects that perhaps it was the day when he crossed the age of 11. Maybe it was the stage when he realized that the concepts of hell and heaven, about which he had been taught since his childhood, actually do not exist in reality. Geography textbooks did not give the location of any such places. The poet realizes that he might have lost his childhood when he gained his rational outlook due to getting educated and by reading books. Now, stanza number 2. When did my childhood go? Was it the time I realized that adults were not all they seemed to be? They talked of love and preached of love, but did not act so lovingly. Was that the day? Here, seemed means appeared, preached means taught, act means behave, lovingly means with compassion or love for others. So, in this stanza, the poet reflects that maybe the loss of childhood occurred when he was able to see through the hypocrisy of adults. These people followed double standards, actually following and preaching different standards of behavior. They were teaching something else and they were practicing something else. They told the poet to be loving and caring. However, they themselves were not like that. They themselves were argumentative, violent, and discourteous. Means they were not all that good what they were actually preaching, the poet. Their behavior was a far cry from the love they sermonized about and advocated so reverently to the child. Their behavior was not good. Perhaps, says the poet, recognizing broken trust was a major step towards adulthood. So he thought that when he could understand the behavior of adults, then only perhaps he had lost his childhood. Now, stanza number 3. When did my childhood go? Was it when I found my mind was really mine? To use whichever way I choose, producing thoughts that were not those of other people, but my own and mine alone. Was that the day? Now, here, the meaning of really mine means when not influenced by others' opinions. Mind which was not influenced by others' opinions, whichever means any, producing means creating, thoughts means views or opinions coming from the poet's mind. So here the poet asks the same question again and again, but with different opinion. He is trying to guess when he actually lost his childhood. Perhaps it was the day when he realized that his mind could think independently, forming his own opinions. Now he was able to form his own opinions and being able to take his own decisions. He now gained a sense of individuality which set him free from the preconceived opinions the opinions he was drawing earlier. Those opinions were different from those of the previous opinions. His own individual opinions and experiences shape his thoughts now, and he realized that this might have been the time when he lost his childhood, he lost his innocence completely. Now, stanza number 4. Where did my childhood go? It went to some forgotten place that's hidden in an infant's face. That's all I know. Forgotten means unremembered. Hidden means concealed or which is kept out of sight. Infant means a very small child. Now, here in this stanza, the poet changes his question. The poet now wonders where his childhood has gone. He reflects that maybe his childhood has gone to an unremembered place. The poet also says that childhood can be found in the innocent face of a very small child who does not have any pretensions, and he is not at all rational, and who trusts and loves others unconditionally like he used to do once. In other words, a small child is full of innocence, and there one can find his own childhood. So this was about the explanation of the stanza, students, and a few poetic devices which are used in the poem are alliteration. Here, for example, hell and heaven. That the day. Here, H and H in hell and heaven is getting repeated. These alphabets are repeated. So it is alliteration, repetition of alphabets, consonant sound. That the day. Here T and T is getting repeated. My mind, whichever way, etc. All these word combinations are used in this poem are alliteration. Alliteration is a figure of speech where a number of words having the same first consonant sound occur. And this figure of speech, antithesis, is also there. It refers to the placement of opposing or contrasting ideas together, like hell and heaven. These are totally opposite. So this is antithesis. And there is one more poetic device, enjambment. This figure of speech refers to the practice of running lines of poetry from one to the next without using any kind of punctuation. So the example is in the second line of the second stanza. Second line of the second stanza. Was it the time I realized that adults were not all they seemed to be? Yes, these are 3 poetic devices, students. And let me tell you now the theme of the poem. The poet wants to find out when he lost his childhood. He analyzes the various stages of childhood and tries to find out when he lost his innocence and childhood. Childhood, we all know, is an essential part in the process of growing up, but it can't go on forever. The poet distinguishes between the innocent and grown-up phases of his life. And the message from this poem is, once the childhood is lost, it cannot be regained. One can only get glimpses of childhood in an infant's phase. As we grow up, we are confronted with hypocrisy of adults and also lose our mental freedom. Our childhood disappears to a forgotten place, the way the poet has mentioned in the poem, but we cannot make out when our childhood is lost. So, this was all about the poem, students. Yeah, चला ही गया वो.